Hello everyone, this is part 9 of What If Naruto Trained with the Akatsuki, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. There is only one way to defeat them, Akuma said. I'll admit it, we need to come together as a two-man team, just like the old days, because if we don't, they'll win. But this doesn't change a thing. Itachi said, ready to battle. We can take care of these guys. Ketsu said optimistically. After all, you took them out the first time just like that. Look how hurt they are. Don't underestimate them. They are the two strongest Akatsuki members. I was able to inflict a large amount of damage because I caught him off guard. We have to fight seriously. We have to take care of them as fast as we can. Bushi can only hold on for so long, Naruto said. Let's go. Their speed was like lightning, their form was perfect, and the battle was Ada Bushi and Hyuga Hinata, crossing blades with each other. Each of them had their reasons to fight. Hinata was fighting because she was told to. Ada was doing the same, but he was buying Naruto and Ketsu time. He was going to try his best, even if it came to self-destructing himself. Their swords could hardly be seen, but with the quick reflexes, they were able to move swiftly enough to block each other's attacks. Each time their weapons clashed, they would attack once more, this time faster, harder, and stronger. Soon enough, there were sparks flying everywhere from the friction between the two blades. Each of them kept a straight face. Their minds were racing, having only less than half a split second to calculate the next move. One mistake and it was certain death. Finally they both jumped back, increasing the distance between them. Hinata was panting as a sweat drop fell slowly down her cheek. Bushi showed no sign of weariness. They both prepared themselves again. They rushed at each other and after a second, had crossed paths and kept on going. They both stopped, facing away from each other. Bushi had got her, but she had to keep on going. She whirled around to see Bushi smiling as he wiped Hinata's bee from his sword. You didn't catch that, did you? Bushi asked, still smiling deviously. So I see you aren't at that level yet. It must have taken a lot of training to get as far as you are because you are not a natural swordsman. There are two kinds of people, those who are born with skill, and those who train to retain it. You are the second kind, and I am the first. We are on completely different levels. I hope that you are willing to give your life in this battle. Hinata then realized what he meant by his first question. He had performed a jutsu so fast that she did not even notice. That is why she was wounded and he was perfectly fine. Ada Bushi, a worthy opponent indeed. She smiled to herself as she said, I guess that means I'm going to have to try even harder than my best. Your speed is not the problem, it is your focus. You must be alert of what's going on around you. For instance, Bushi stopped talking and lifted his foot, releasing his hold on a small vine that was connected to a tree. A trap. Hinata thought to herself as many sharp wooden spears appeared from above heading toward her. Heavenly spin. She shouted, spinning around so quickly, creating a barrier around herself. The barrier destroyed the spears that came at her. So you can use moves that belong to your clan? Ada Bushi asked. Only a few. I was raised by the Akatsuki, so how could they teach me my clan's moves? What I want to know is, how did you manage to create a trap, and see me all in a matter of seconds? Hinata asked. Like this. Ada Bushi said. Hinata turned around to see another Bushi behind her. Kage Bunshin. The one behind you made the trap. But I created a strong invisible wind around my blade as we rushed past each other. I only had to move my blade 5 feet from your side and that would see it. I did it too fast for you to copy. Bushi said. With that, his Bunshin behind Hinata disappeared with a poof. No matter how hard you try, you won't be able to beat me. I'm above your level, Bushi said coldly. Hinata only smiled slightly and said, well, what an opportunity then, to learn, from Ada Bushi himself. Anything that you learn will be lost with your death. Bushi shouted, jumping high up into the air. Tei Katana. Bushi swung his sword downwards vertically. The movement created a slightly visible wind that headed toward Hinata. Hinata jumped as far as she could to the side, barely dodging the wind attack. The wind collided with the earth, creating a V-shaped crater. Bushi landed on the ground looking at Hinata once more, shouting again, "Tei katana." He swung his sword horizontally this time, but still in Hinata's direction. Hinata decided to fight fire with fire. She swung her blade vertically toward Bushi, shouting the same thing, "Tei katana." The wind attacks met in the middle and created a large and deep hole in the ground. Hinata smiled again. "Thank you for that move, I can see the destruction and power that follows. And it uses hardly any chakra at all." Her statement only angered Bushi even more. "Cage Bunshin!" he screamed. The odd thing was that Bushi didn't make a copy of himself, but of his sword. He now had two swords, one in each hand, and was dashing toward Hinata. Akuma and Itachi retreated a few meters back, whispering to each other their plan. "Itachi, you know what needs to be done. I just need to get close enough to Naruto to use my jutsu. It will work. The only problem is," Akuma said. "Naruto's brother." Itachi finished. "Exactly," Akuma said. "But even if he's taken care of, you'll never get that chance to use it because he is too strong. It'll take both of us to take him down. But that means that Ketsu is going to be there anyway," Itachi said. "Don't worry about me, just stall Naruto's brother and I will do this. I'll finish him, and then we can settle things between us," Akuma said with a serious face. "Ketsu, be careful, they are planning something, I know it," Naruto said to his brother who was beside him. They were both breathing hard with a few bruises and C on their B. "If I know Itachi and Akuma, they are planning something smart. They used to be a two-man team. They would go and capture many demon vessels. Akuma is known as the Demon S. Beware of Itachi's eyes, never look directly into them. He'll activate his Mangekyo Sharingan, which puts you in a genjutsu spell that is almost impossible to get out of until he's done with you. It's even known to scar people's lives. Their everyday's thoughts are changed because they are traumatized. Since they have been working together for so long, they know each other's strengths and weaknesses and can cover for each other. As I said before, we can't underestimate them." Soon enough, Itachi and Akuma appeared on tree branches above them. Akuma jumped down in front of Naruto, immediately engaging in a taijutsu battle. Itachi appeared behind Ketsu, swinging his kunai toward Ketsu's temple. Ketsu moved his head out of the way and elbowed Itachi's ribs. Itachi didn't let the air knocked of him stop him. He quickly dashed after Ketsu and caught up. Itachi grabbed the back of Ketsu's robe and threw him against a tree. Itachi then drove his kunai through Ketsu's hand, pinning him to the wood. Itachi ran off, leaving Ketsu in excruciating pain as he quickly pulled the kunai out of the wood and out of his hand. He ripped a piece of his clothing and tied it tightly to his hand, attempting to stop the bee from leaking out like a water fountain. Ketsu gritted his teeth in anger and quickly dashed off after Itachi, ready to K him. Itachi looked back and saw Ketsu running right after him. Itachi looked forward, sped up, and smiled. Mission accomplished. All he had to do now was K Ketsu and leave Akuma to Naruto. Naruto jumped back, avoiding Akuma's swing to his face. He looked around and saw that Ketsu and Itachi were nowhere to be found. He looked back at Akuma, who was now smiling. "That was your plan, wasn't it? For Itachi to take care of Ketsu and distract him because we're too strong when he's by my side. You think Itachi could take care of him while you, the Demon S, takes care of me? Do you really think that you could take me on? You underestimate me, Naruto. Even if you are much stronger now, there are many things that I did not teach you. Why would I reveal everything to you when I knew that one day we would have to K you? I knew that you would go against us. After all, nobody wants to S. You would fight for your life, so I didn't teach you all I knew. All of us kept some moves of our own hidden from you so you wouldn't expect them when the time came. What I did not expect was half of the Akatsuki to fight along with you. But it doesn't matter anymore. There are just 2 demon vessels left, you and Gaara. Do you remember him? Your first mission and you failed it. You couldn't even capture a simple demon vessel. We were all so disappointed. And you failed to mention that Chiyoba gave you a certain item, in a beige velvet bag. Yes, we know all about that. It's your fault, she's Naruto. You failed to mention that she gave you something. We tried to find out from her personally, but she would never tell us. That was the end of her. Now she is one of Sasori's puppet collections. He has the whole family. Akuma said, smiling the whole time. Naruto's bee was boiling. He was so angry. Chiyoba was a person he completely trusted, even with his life. Why did you ask me? He asked angrily. Because then you would know that we were watching. You weren't that naive, Naruto. You were always smart in battle. You would lose our trust, and we couldn't risk that. That was one more step of betrayal. When you were small, I sealed the Kyubi inside of you even deeper. But your strength grew at such a rapid pace. What could you expect? I mean, you grew up with us, training all your life, of course you would be strong. But the stronger you grew, the weaker the seal would get. Soon enough, seeing your brother near his doom was all it took to shatter the seal, completely releasing your demon. Akuma said. Wait a minute, Naruto said, realizing something. When I turned demon, Itachi, Kisame, Sasori, and Deidara all rushed in, captured me, and took me straight back to our base. Was I being watched that time too? Akuma chuckled. I'm surprised it took you this long to notice. Naruto, there was never a single moment in your life that you were alone. As I said, you could not be trusted. We had to make sure you stayed on our side. We had to take many precautions. Watching you at all times were one of them. What? Naruto shouted. He thought back, skimming through his memories like a book. So you knew that I had fought Guru before you assigned for me to bring him to you. Of course, you had to be rid of all friendships. We simply saw Guru as a threat. He was a demon vessel, but why go capture him ourselves, when you could do it for us? That was the ultimate test. Friendship or the Akatsuki. You chose us, but you were very reluctant. You even gave him many chances to run. You passed, but you also failed. Akuma answered him. Naruto was completely speechless. All these things he didn't know about Akatsuki. What they were hiding. He always considered them as family until he found out the truth. Naruto was glad that he was much past that now. However, there would still be a part of him that would never be the same. Leaving the Akatsuki was a big decision that he made on his own, but finding out the truth about them, that he was nothing to all of them, left a large. But he was now free, happier even. He had Ketsu, and that was more than enough for Naruto. Akuma saw this moment as his chance. He quickly disappeared and appeared behind Naruto, about to punch him in the head. But Naruto was too fast. He dodged Akuma's swing by ducking, and he quickly dashed away from him. Nice try, Akuma, but you won't get me. Naruto said, smiling. Akuma just smiled straight back at him. I already did. He stared straight at Naruto's N. Naruto's smile faded as he felt the thin needle that had pierced through his skin. He could already feel the L working its way through his B. He pulled the needle out and fell to the ground in pain, groaning. Akuma slowly walked toward Naruto, who was feeling more pain by the second. So I see my plan is working after all. Of course I can't seal your demon with you at your best. But at your current state, you won't be a problem at all. It doesn't matter how strong you are, L. Akuma was now beside Naruto, crouching down. He had his hand on Naruto's as he said, Sumitsuki. He pressed down on Naruto's, knocking the air out of him. It was done, the Kyubi was sealed, and Naruto was drugged. Naruto was now helpless, unable to defend himself, unable to do anything at all. Where's Kaji? The Shouten leader asked 8, who had quickly returned. I don't know exactly how to say this, but he went with Orochimaru. 8 said, very frightened. Orochimaru was able to obtain complete control over him since he is the only Sannin remaining. Kaji has Orochimaru's B running through his versus. That's why Orochimaru can do whatever he wants with him. He turned Kaji against me. I managed to escape and come back here. I knew it was futile to fight against them all. Even though it was Orochimaru that had told 8 to go back, 8 changed the truth. He didn't want his leader to be even more disappointed than he already was. The leader sighed as he said in a serious tone, call Kagai and Kiran over here. 8 hurriedly did as he was told, and soon enough there were 4 Shouten members gathered together. Kiran, the right-hand man to the leader, was already in his 40s. He had a long black goatee and thick black eyebrows. He was bald on the top of his head. He had such an evil glare, that it seemed that he could kill you with a simple glance. He was very skinny and stood almost as tall as 8. He wore his large black Shouten cloak but had his hood down so that his head was visible. Your greatest creation, and he's a threat to us. The leader addressed to Kagai. Kagai, I want you to stay here at the base and wait for Haku and Saru. Keep them here and don't allow them to leave. 8. Kiran, and I will take care of Kaji. While we're gone, I want you to think about what you did. Why this has happened. I hope that I won't have to unleash my anger out on you. Kaji has definitely something coming to him. Be careful, my lord. He is very strong, probably just as strong as or even stronger than Kiran. It seems you are the only one who can take him down. Remember that Orochimaru is also there and his little subordinate Sasuke. Kagai said, bowing his head. Thank you for that piece of information, Kagai. I will keep that in mind. The leader said. Then he, Kiran, and 8 dashed out of the base and into the distance after Orochimaru, Kaji, and Sasuke. Akuma had Naruto, who was practically unconscious, in his arms as he traveled with his side of the Akatsuki back to base. They were all extremely beat up from their battle. After capturing Naruto, Akuma told everybody to regroup. Luckily, everybody had defeated their opponents, so there was nobody to follow them. Itachi and Hinata were the only ones that were conscious and they were both preoccupied. Akuma, Sasori, Hiden, Deidara, and Kakazu were now all dashing wearily back to extract Naruto's demon from his bee. After 16 years, we can finally get rid of our biggest threat. Akuma said happily. Suddenly, the Akatsuki members stopped as they saw 3 figures straight in front of them. I'd be glad to get rid of him for you. Orochimaru said, smiling deviously. Orochimaru, you can't take us all on. Kakazu said angrily. You may have been right if you were all fine. But you are all weak from a recent battle, I can see. You are all tired, thirsty, and weak. I also have the ultimate weapon now. Kaji, I want the boy, take care of the rest. Orochimaru said. Akuma placed Naruto on the floor a few feet away from him. We'll never let you take him. Kaji didn't even speak. He simply walked forward a few feet and touched the ground, looking at the 5 Akatsuki members. Right when Kaji touched the ground with his hands, each Akatsuki member was surrounded by a barrier of earth. The barrier looked like a large sharp tooth that covered each of them completely. So there were 5 large earth barriers. Kaji didn't take his hands off of the ground until after each barrier carrying an Akatsuki member sunk down underground and was buried way underneath. Done. Kaji said, dusting his hands off. How did you do that? Sasuke asked, full of curiosity. You didn't perform any hand seals at all or even say the name of the jutsu. I was created automatically knowing every single jutsu that Jiraiya, Tsunade, or Orochimaru knows. I can also create ones of my own. My creator made it so that I would never have to perform any hand seals but simply carry out the jutsu. This would help catch my opponents off guard. Kaji said. Impressive. Orochimaru said. Now go get the boy. Kaji walked over to Naruto and picked him up and carried him on his back. Let's head back now. Orochimaru said, dashing off towards his base with Sasuke and Kaji behind him. Hinata was gasping for air as she held her sword tightly. She had to concentrate and give it her all just to dodge and block Bushi's attacks. One sword was already hard enough, but 2 swords were too much. She was getting too tired to keep up, and her sword was already at its end. She could do no more. She had to destroy him, and quick. She was able to learn one move, and that was all she could handle. She had to end this or she would be S. Bushi was still the same as when the battle started. He wasn't tired, or even sweating a single drop. As I said, you cannot defeat me. Bushi said, walking toward Hinata. He then charged and struck Hinata's one sword with his 2 blades. Jiten Hasuki. Bushi shouted, spinning around and around with his swords outwards. Soon enough, he was spinning so fast that he was a tornado that left a path of destruction. Hinata had attempted to block it, but her sword merely shattered as soon as it came in contact with Bushi. Hinata then had an idea. Shidinasan no Jutsu. The sky grew dark as lightning came down from the sky and struck Bushi. But it seemed that his tornado had absorbed the lightning, making him even more S. Now Hinata was weaponless and out of ideas. Ada Bushi stopped spinning, suddenly holding out his 2 swords in front of him. He threw one to Hinata and she caught it. When she grabbed the hilt, she could see that the blade had electricity running through it. As to one's B would deliver a shock so strong that it would cause instant death. Why are you helping me? She asked. It's unfair for you to be unable to defend yourself. That is not my way of someone. They must be able to fight for themselves. And now you can. Bushi said, walking towards her. This will be the end. I'll defeat you here. Hinata said, swinging her sword, testing its speed. It was such a fine sword, see through the air so swiftly. They then each dashed toward each other, gaining speed with every step. This was it, the final blow. Their swords collided and time froze for a moment as they stood there, and the only thing between them was their blades. Poof! The sword disappeared. Hinata gasped as her sword entered Bushi's B and E him. Bushi was B from almost every orifice on his B. His ears, his eyes, his nose, his mouth, even his paws. He slowly looked at Hinata with his last dying breath. Why? Why did you give me the real one? Why did you keep the fake one for yourself? Hinata screamed. I thought you wanted to win. Bushi smiled slightly. He then spoke, but very softly, almost a whisper. I can come back to life, you can't. When I said that you were not a natural swordsman, I lied. You have more potential than I did at your age. I wouldn't want it to go to waste. You have a shot at being something great. Use your talents to fulfill your dreams. I did, and it completed me. I didn't have the heart to take your life from you. But you still must survive my self-destruction. If you do, then you truly deserve that sword that you hold right there. It can be a curse or a blessing, use it wisely. I wish you the best. A tear fell from Hinata's left eye as she looked at Bushi's sword in her hands. Once you pull that sword out of me, then the explosion will come. Goodbye, Hinata, Bushi said as he spoke his last words and closed his eyes. Hinata quickly pulled her new sword out of Bushi's limp B and escaped the explosion. She looked at the crater it had caused and then looked back at the sword. Bushi's death had an impact on her. What if Naruto was right? She thought that she was fine being a tool, but what if she wasn't? She didn't really want to spend her life living under someone else. She wanted to be free, to be her own boss. Itachi was on the floor, unconscious, and Ketsu was close to death. He had won the battle, and had to get medical attention quick, or he would soon perish. I'm leaving you alive, not because I don't have the heart to kill you, but because I don't think that you are worth it. What a waste you are, a piece of trash. I should end your life right here, but I think my brother deserves that opportunity. Ketsu said, leaving Itachi to look for his brother. Naruto was nowhere to be found, and Ketsu didn't have much time. He knew that Naruto had lost. Somehow, Akuma had beat Naruto and taken him. Naruto, I swear that I will do whatever I can to get you back, even if it's the last thing I do. I will see you again, brother. Ketsu said, dashing off to the nearest village. 6 hours had passed, and Orochimaru was back at his hideout with Kaji, Sasuke, and Naruto. The L seemed to be wearing off, but he was still weak from everything that had happened. Naruto was also tied up in chains. He couldn't move a finger. It seems you have finally woken up. Orochimaru smiled at Naruto. Don't worry, once I have what I want, you can be free from all this pain. Boom. One of the four walls to the hideout crumpled as the leader of the Shouten walked in, followed by Kiran and 8. Kaji, I'm truly disappointed. The leader said. Who might you be? Orochimaru asked the leader. That is none of your concern. I'm here because Kaji has betrayed us, and he will less here. The leader said, stepping forward. So I see, you are his leader. Orochimaru said, talking about 8. I will, the leader of the Shouten stopped as he faced Naruto. I didn't expect to see you so soon, Naruto. You've grown into a man. Who are you? Naruto asked. The leader took down his hood for all to see. He then took his cloak off and let it fall to the floor, revealing the tight black suit that everybody from the Shouten wore. Orochimaru gasped. Impossible. How can it be? Naruto's eyes widened. His vision was blurry, but he could see who it was. Kaji, I'm sorry that your life was so short, but you are a threat to us, so you will less here right now. The leader said. Naruto, rise. Akuma stood there. He was still trying to figure out what had happened. More importantly, he was trying to figure out a way to escape. His oxygen was running out. He did the only thing he could do. He gathered his remaining chakra to his fists and began pounding on the earth walls. Each strike would dent the wall more and more. Finally, he reached through to Deidara, who was unconscious. Deidara, he shouted, waking him up. You can blow a hole to the top. Yeah, you're right, yeah. Deodara reached into his pocket and took out a small ball of clay. In his palms Deodara had a mouth which then chewed the ball of clay. "Watch it," he said as he put his hands to the earth ceiling. Boom! It exploded, revealing light, allowing oxygen to come in. The Akatsuki members came out and stood up on regular ground after 6 hours. "We have to get Naruto back," Akuma said. "Good, we can help. How about a permanent truce?" Itachi said as his side of the Akatsuki appeared. Akuma smiled as he shook hands with his old partner, joining the two groups. The leader lifted up his arm in Naruto's general direction. Naruto's bi obeyed. He stood up and had no control over his bi whatsoever. "So I see that somebody has sealed it. Don't worry, I will break that seal. Kyubi, come out," the leader said. Suddenly, Naruto felt his bi being overwhelmed with red demon chakra. The Kyubi was taking over. No, that man was taking over. Naruto ripped through the chains as if they were paper. His fangs grew as well as his nails, his eyes turned red and the Kyubi chakra surrounded him completely. He had 2 tails of red chakra. How can this be? Orochimaru was still amazed. The leader then moved his hand toward Kaji. Naruto followed. He disappeared and reappeared above Kaji, landing on his shoulders, ripping his 2 arms off. Kaji screamed in pain as BG out. He pulled his hand out and let Kaji fall to the floor to lie in his own puddle of B. "Sasuke, we cannot be caught here in the end, we must go now." Orochimaru shouted in a hurry as he quickly and Sasuke quickly escaped as the Shouten were busy with Kaji and Naruto. The leader of the Shouten then said, "Release." The Kyubi's chakra disappeared in an instant and Naruto fell to the ground still weakened. The L was gone from his B because of the chakra. His vision was clear now as well. Upon seeing the leader of the Shouten, a painful memory suddenly visited Naruto's mind. "You look so much like your father Naruto," Naomi said. Naruto saw an exact image of himself as he looked at the man that was now walking away from the hideout. He was too weak to stand, his eyes grew heavy. He simply said, "Father, I've found you, I won't rest until I find you again, I now know what I must do," and fell into a deep sleep. The leader of the Shouten put his cloak back on, once again covering his whole B from head to toe. "Our work is done here, let us go." "But my lord, what about the Kyubi boy?" Kiran asked. "I did not expect to see him so soon, there is still much I have to accomplish here, I do not need him just yet. We can wait. But yes, eventually I will need him, but taking him now will render useless. Let us go." The 3 Shouten members were stopped in their tracks as they saw 10 people outside waiting for them. "Going somewhere?" Akuma asked. "I don't think so." The Akatsuki was reunited, and even though most of them were tired out, there were 10 of them, and 3 of the Shouten. "It seems we have no choice but to fight," Kiran said. 10 against 3. This is going to be really fun. 8 said, grinning as he popped his knuckles. "So it would seem," the leader said. Akuma and Kiran's eyes met. "It's been a long time, hasn't it, brother?" Akuma asked. "You were always the foolish one. Don't think for a second that I will spare your life, Akuma. You still have much to learn, and you were always a disgrace to our family name." Kiran said. "The same here, brother, the same here." Akuma said. "I'm sick and tired of this crap." Kiran shouted as he stood up abruptly from the dinner table. They were a family of 3. Going from oldest to youngest, there was the father of the family whose name was Asuran, Kiran, the oldest son who was 24 years old, and Akuma, the youngest who was 18 years old. They were all that was left of the Wushan clan. "All we do is lead peaceful lives and do nothing. I can't stand it anymore." "Calm yourself, Kiran. Our clan is like a fragile plant. Tend to it kindly, giving it proper sunlight and water, and it will grow. There is not much of our clan left, but you know why that is. The rest of our clan is along with the Amatari clan. At least we have 3 survivors, they have none. Our reign of destruction has finally come to an end. It's opened my eyes to a whole new light, can't you see what we were doing was wrong? That's why we are leading peaceful lives, to try and finish our lives the way they were meant to be lived." Asuran explained to both his sons. "No, father, you have it all wrong. It was all just a bump in the road. Can't you see this as a sign? The Amatari clan is now gone, but ours is still alive, let us rebuild it, and begin our conquest again." Kiran said, clenching his fist. "There will always be an opposing force like there was this time. It's not a sign to fight more, it's a sign to correct our lives. Asuran argued. If there is an opposing force, then we'll just crush it. You can't tell me that you didn't enjoy ruling over land and conquering it. We just have to try harder and get better. Akuma, speak up. If you never speak your mind, then you'll always be the invisible one. Kiran said. I agree with Kiran, Dad. I really think we can build up our clan and begin conquering again. We were given great potential with great strength. What use is it if we don't fight? Akuma asked. I will not allow you to do this under the name of the Wushan clan. Asuran screamed, breaking the dinner table in half with his fist. That's fine, Dad, because starting today, I'm leaving this clan. There's nothing left anyways. I'm going to do what I need to gain more power, and then you'll see. Kiran said, You're the head of our clan, so kick me out, I don't care, I'm gone anyways. Where are you going to go, you fool? Asuran asked. You don't have anywhere to stay. I don't care, anywhere is better than this. Kiran shouted, exiting the house. Kiran, wait, Asuma said as he chased out after him. Kiran, let me come with you. No, Akuma, you're not strong enough to follow behind me. You were always the weak one of our clan, you have the least talent of everyone. But even so, your duty remains with our father. Despite what we think, there is truth in his words. Care for him, I know you're strong enough to protect you too. When he's gone, then you're all that's left. Don't disappoint Dad, I don't think he can bear to lose his last son, his last hope. Kiran said without looking back. Kiran. Yeah. Kiran asked, stopping for a moment. I hate you. Akuma said angrily. Kiran was silent for a moment, then said, I know, and he walked off into the night. 1 year later, Akuma was traveling on the path through the forest when suddenly two people in red and black cloaks appeared before him. One man had a pale face and resembled a snake. The other man had braids in his hair and was large with a scarf-looking cloth over his mouth. Akuma had just journeyed to a village and destroyed it, not leaving a single person alive. He wanted to begin his quest of destruction. Who are you? Akuma asked the two people. My name is Orochimaru and this is Sasori. The pale man said, pointing to himself and his partner. We are from an organization called the Akatsuki. We are currently looking for members. We looked you up in the bingo book and you're way up there in the S ranks along with us. How old are you? 19. Akuma said proudly. Interesting, would you care to join? Sasori asked. No thanks, I have a goal of my own to fulfill. Akuma said, attempting to walk past them. Instead they walked alongside of him for a little while until Orochimaru asked, and what is that? I want to rule over lands, leaving a path of destruction everywhere I go. I want villages, no countries to fear my name and abandon their homes if I'm anywhere near them. Akuma said with a smile. Orochimaru simply smiled back, saying, then we've come to the right person, welcome to the Akatsuki. Master, allow me to take on one enemy for this battle, I must end it once and for all with my brother. Kiran said, awaiting the leader's approval. You may do that, I think we'll manage to hold them off until you can settle things between yourselves. Kiran, don't disappoint me, even if he is your brother, remember, you belong to me, you belong to the Shouten, don't spare his life. The leader said. Kiran bowed and took off quickly into the forest with his little brother Akuma following closely behind him. But my lord, that leaves 9 for 2 people. They clearly have us outnumbered. 8 complained, pointing to his opponents. Do not fret, 8. You are not weak or in weak condition like they are, just remain calm and fight. If you are so worried, then you can take 3 of them, and I'll take 6 of them. The leader explained. Are you sure you can take that many on all by yourself? 8 asked. Are you saying your faith in me has been shattered? No, of course not. Please forgive my insolence. Very well, I will take 3 then. 8 said. All right, I've made up my mind. 8 charged at Zetsu, flying through the air, kicking him back into many trees. He had obviously chosen one of his 3 opponents. Hinata and Itachi both went after 8, who was now chasing after Zetsu. Miniopaxu, Kisame, Kakazu, Sasori, Deidara, and Hiden were left to fight the leader of the Shouten. Kiran and Akuma had finally stopped running and were now facing each other intently. One question before we begin, Kiran started. What would that be? Akuma asked. What has become of our father? Kiran asked. Akuma smiled. Kiran, I'm glad you asked. After you left, I stood by him day by day, each day training myself, only stopping to eat and barely sleep. Our father was already heartbroken to lose our entire clan. After you left, I think he just snapped. He practically starved himself, he wouldn't sleep, and me training myself to get stronger just wasn't helping. I could tell he was suffering, so I decided to end his miserable life. When I had decided to fight him, he thought I was insane, and you know what? Maybe I am insane. He put up a good fight, but the training I had put myself through really worked in the end. I killed him, I ended his life, and I did it proudly as well. I've spent so many years improving myself, that I am no longer the one without talent. You will find, brother, that I have gotten much better, I have even surpassed you. I was always the third wheel, you were the prodigal son, and I couldn't stand it. So when you left us for good, that was the last straw. I'm ready to kill you without hesitation, you put us all in hell. Kiran chuckled. Akuma, it doesn't matter how much stronger you have gotten, you will never be able to beat me. You and I, our fighting skills are on completely different levels. You're right, I was the prodigal son, that's why I have achieved where I am right now. You will never become as strong as me, your life will end here. I know it was hard on Dad and you to leave, but I made the right decision. The Shouten granted me what I have wanted. We are so close to gaining ultimate power, after we have done that, then we can begin our conquer over the land. Haratsu no Jutsu. Kiran shouted, forming a few hand seals quickly. Boom! An explosion in midair occurred on the ground Akuma was standing on. He managed to escape unharmed to the top of a nearby tree. Boom! The explosions continued. This time the branch Akuma was standing on. He simply jumped to a different tree. Boom! Once again, this time the whole tree exploded, sending sharp shards of bark flying in all directions. Akuma formed a few hand seals as well, shouting, Suran no Jutsu. He now had control of every single wood shard from the exploding tree. He directed them all to his opponent. The wood shards see through the air like speeding bullets straight for Kiran, who still had his hands connected. Boom, 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 boom. Hundreds of explosions occurred as each wood shard blew up. Akuma jumped back to the ground, panting from running around. He observed Kiran's position, his stance, his hand seal that he had connected. That's it, Akuma whispered to himself. If I break the hand seal, then the explosions will stop. All I have to do is get close enough to hit him and he'll move by himself. But the closer I move, the more accuracy he will have. It's a risk, what can I do in this position? Boom! Akuma barely managed to escape the explosion that had just come because it had caught him off guard. You didn't think I was going to let you stand there, did you? Kiran asked, smiling. This is all too easy. You're already tired and I haven't even broken a sweat. Is this the power that you spoke of? Akuma then whipped out a kunai and thrust it at Kiran. He missed terribly and the kunai struck the large branch Kiran was standing on and stuck there. Akuma then ran under Kiran, avoiding the explosions that were happening all around him. Akuma carefully ran around Kiran at a distance that was very far. He ran up and down, but all the time he was running large circles around his opponent. Finally Kiran saw it, the clear string that was connected to the kunai in Akuma's hand. Akuma had been running around Kiran, dragging the string, allowing it to surround him. All he had to do was tighten the grip on the string and it would close in around Kiran and see him. Kiran let go of his hand seal and managed to get away by using Kawarimi, replacing his bee with a tree trunk. Akuma smiled, he had successfully completed what he was trying to do all this time. All he needed was 2 seconds to his plan. The problem was the explosions. Now, Kiran would have to perform the hand seals all over again, and Akuma was already able to carry out his battle plan. Suddenly, 2 large trees fell each where Kiran was supposed to be standing. Instead he jumped back a few feet, dodging them as they impacted with the ground. After they had fallen, Kiran jumped up on top of the trees and said, I've got the higher ground, brother. Akatsuki no Jutsu. Akuma screamed as he formed many hand seals running up to the trees that were now parallel to the ground. He placed his right hand on the tree and bam. The next moment Kiran was in a large wooden cage made from the trees. Wood manipulation, eh? Kiran asked from inside the cage. So you really have improved your skills. Elemental manipulation takes years and years of training to acquire. And with your little talent, I wasn't sure you were ever going to be able to do it. How long has it been, Akuma? How long has it been since I left? Kiran, it has been 16 years. If you're impressed with wood manipulation, then be proud, brother, because it doesn't stop here. I learned elemental manipulation within the first 2 years after you had left. I haven't stopped training, Akuma said. As for your explosion technique, I can do that as well, Surin no Jutsu. If you are going to fight me, it is proper to at least know who I am. The leader of the Shouten said, removing his cloak, showing his tight black suit. His blonde hair and blue eyes seemed to shine with the sun. You are the fourth Hokage of Konoha. Kisame shouted, amazed and speechless. That type of information is not open for discussion. I will simply tell you my name. Minio fell to the ground. My name is Q. Remember it well. Before anybody could do a single thing, Q formed a few hand seals and said calmly, Kyaku no Jutsu. The next thing that happened, every person that was fighting Q fell to the ground, clutching their stomach in pain. Q smiled and listened to the screaming of his 5 opponents. That sound is music to my ears. I've felt that pain before, and I can tell you right now, it's no picnic. What is happening inside you is basically a deterioration of your insides. There's no way to get out of the pain except to commit suicide. Sad, isn't it? The Akatsuki, a famous organization composed of S-ranked criminals, and you can't even last 3 seconds against me. I suppose I have yet to fight a good battle. Zetsu was already S. Hinata and Itachi were both weakened. They were caught off guard with 8's ability to shapeshift any part of his B. Hinata-san, do not worry, we can take this guy out. He is only one person. We have to get back to the others. I can feel everybody's power weakening. Akuma is hanging on, but I fear that he will not survive much longer. We must beat him and hurry back to aid everyone. Itachi said, panting. Katon, Ryuuka no Justu. Suddenly, a gigantic flame appeared from Itachi's mouth and engulfed 8 completely. The attack held for almost 30 seconds. Hinata and Itachi both gasped to see 8 alive after taking that hit full on. 8's skin was completely melted off, only his eyeballs and his muscle was seen along with his metal skeleton. Pity that you had to see me like this, 8 said sadly, progressing toward his opponents. Bushi, I will not let you down. It can't end here, Hinata said as she rushed at 8 with her sword ready to strike. Bushi, give me your strength, give me your courage, give me your spirit. Bushi no Jutsu. Hinata's sword glowed with an aura of a light orange as she see 8's B in half at the waist. 8 fell to the floor in 2 pieces, his upper B and his legs. Hinata fell to the floor unconscious from having used her new strongest move. Itachi rushed to Hinata and awoke her. They both fled the scene to aid the other Akatsuki members. The wooden cage Akuma had locked Kiran in exploded. Akuma smiled as he witnessed his brother flee from the broken cage without his left arm B constantly. Now who's hurt, brother? Akuma asked Kiran, chuckling. Suddenly Kiran appeared in front of Akuma's him with a large sharp shard of wood. He took his weapon out of Akuma's C and reinserted it into his stomach. Kiran repeated the S process over and over and over again. Akuma was unable to move, his B completely paralyzed and full of new pains entering his B as Kiran eyed him with the shard of wood. Then Akuma's legs exploded, then his arms, and Akuma was on the ground as BG from his mouth. It's sad, isn't it, Akuma, how much pain can come from a genjutsu? Kiran said. Akuma gasped as he returned back to normal, releasing his mind from the horror that he awoke from. He looked around and Kiran was nowhere to be seen. Again, he felt the same pain as the genjutsu he was just in. He felt it over and over again, but he could not see anything or any B. Akuma put his hands together and shouted, Kai. He smiled as he looked around to locate Kiran. A genjutsu after another genjutsu, ha. Clever. I didn't think you were that smart, Akuma said, still looking around. However, he didn't have to look for long because his opponent appeared a few feet in front of him. This is a little test, Akuma stated, forming quick hand seals. Let's hope you can pass it. Suddenly, it began to rain. It was only a light drizzle, but the raindrops were thick. They didn't splatter when they hit the ground, instead, they simply lay there, a small sphere of water. After a few minutes, the drizzling stopped, and the forest was full of raindrops everywhere, the ground, the trees, the leaves, even on Kiran himself. Was that it? Kiran asked. My brother, is that ever it? Jutsus are never how they seem at first. I told you didn't, I. This is a test, to see if you can match up to my level. This may be a bit difficult to get away from though. Akuma said, smiling the whole time he spoke. He put his hands together and said, Kai. Just then, a raindrop nearby exploded and disappeared. Kiran looked at his arm and noticed that it was B. Another raindrop erupted, this time Kiran's left cheek. What is that? Kiran asked. Those drops are not made of water at all. They are made of hundreds of tiny needles glazed with Al that goes directly into your B and ruptures your heart in a matter of hours. However, after getting hit with thousands of drops, you'll be even before the L can reach it. I can make anyone explode at any time I want. Or I can make all of them explode at the same time. The explosion is the factor that gives the needles the momentum to pierce the skin. It's simply my chakra that controls them towards my opponent. That's the reason they won't hit me. This is your test, good luck brother. Boom, 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 boom. Kiran heard explosions everywhere, but he didn't wait long enough to see where they were going. He began to attempt to dodge them, but his attempt was completely futile. The needles pierced his sleeves and up his arms. Everywhere Kiran moved there would be a raindrop and it would explode, see him somewhere on his B. Soon enough his cloak was full of holes and his B full of scrapes. Kiran then stopped moving, he had his head down to the ground and his eyes closed. He seemed to be a peaceful state despite the new C he was getting by the second. He slowly removed his Shouten cloak to reveal the tight black armor that was all up. He removed that as well. His muscular body was barely visible through the dripping B all over him. That's all you have, Kiran. That is the limit of our so-called Wushan clan. Akuma asked, finally stopping the attacks. There were still thousands of raindrops left all around the forest. Very well, I'll make this easy on you then. This will be an all or nothing. Supposing you do dodge this, you will from the L anyways. It wouldn't surprise me if it took just 5 minutes for you to drop down to your death. By the way, one thing you should know, nobody has ever survived my technique, including our father. Goodbye brother. At those last two sentences, Kiran lifted his head in fury. His sweat fell from his chin mixed with his B. You are not worthy of witnessing the limit of our clan, you who are so feeble and weak. Do not even think for a second you will win. Hit me with everything you've got, I'll take it all. Chakra Kankaku. Kiran's eyes went to the back of his head so that only white was visible. He stood tall, ready to take on Akuma's attack. Boom. The raindrops all exploded, heading towards Kiran at an incredible speed. Kiran didn't get hit once. The needles all gathered to one spot in front of him, forming what looked like a huge water drop the size of Kiran's body. The drop then began to take form, the form of Kiran himself. He had made a bunchen from the needles that were supposed to attack him. How is that possible? Akuma asked. My jutsu allows me to see near chakra and control its flow. It's one of the secrets that belongs to only our blood limit. I see you have not figured that out yet based on your surprise. I was able to make a bunchen with your needles and I can control him as well. As I said, don't even think for a second, you will win. Kiran explained. It appears you don't understand brother, that was merely my first test, and you won't be breathing after a few more minutes. How will you manage to K me with just one bunchen? Akuma asked. One bunchen is more than enough. Kiran said as his clone rushed forward at Akuma. Once close enough, Akuma attempted to punch the bunchen's face, but the needles dispersed and reformed behind Akuma, grabbing him from behind, not allowing him to move. It's like punching water, you can't hurt it. It can only hurt you. It can take a solid form like rock whenever I want it to, or become as flexible as water if I desire. Kiran said, walking towards Akuma. Kiran, do not believe I am so foolish. Akuma said as he touched the bunchen's arms and transferred chakra to them. They then fell like water to the ground. Akuma jumped back so he could avoid close contact with his two opponents. You and I both know that all I have to do to mess up your bunchen is to transfer chakra into it. That messes up the chakra flow and doesn't allow your bunchen to stay together in the shape you want it to. So far, you have a useless clone, and you are almost I on the other hand, Hardly even have a scratch. How's this for a scratch? Kiran asked as another clone appeared behind, punching him with full force in the face. Akuma flew into a nearby tree and then fell to the ground. So I see, Akuma stated, looking around. 2 clones then, huh? I guess I'll have to end this fast then. He reached into his Akatsuki cloak and pulled out 2 handfuls of kunai. Akuma threw the first one he had directly at the nearest Kiran. In midair, the kunai transformed into a large spinning Fuma shuriken. Kiran was able to dodge it and the Fuma shuriken ended up getting stuck in a tree behind them all. The same thing occurred with every single kunai. It would transform into a Fuma shuriken and get stuck in a different tree each time. Soon enough, Akuma was out of weapons and he was panting. Your final attempt to finish us off was completely useless, Akuma. I am disappointed in you. Kiran said with a smirk. But that smirk soon faded as soon as he saw that Akuma was holding onto a metallic string in each hand. It appeared that each Fuma shuriken was connected and that they formed an enclosed circular perimeter around all 3 Kirans. Akuma was holding the end of both strings, closing the perimeter around his opponents. I can guarantee you, brother, that you will not escape this jutsu. Akuma said. Before anything else could be done, 15 buncheons of Akuma appeared, each one standing on a Fuma shuriken facing inwards to Kiran. Akuma crossed both the ends of the strings in his hands and pulled so that the shurikens flew inwards towards the 3 enemies. Every one of the buncheons jumped up into the air, throwing down kunai with an explosive tag. Boom! The huge explosion ended, leaving the real Kiran by himself in the middle, completely full of B. His body was surrounded by metallic wires going around and around him, so he would not be able to move a single limb. All 16 Akumas held a metallic end of the string that led to Kiran's body. All we have to do, brother, is pull, and you will be diced into 50 pieces of fresh guts. Akuma said. I noticed that your buncheons tried to escape by jumping up into mid-air, the most obvious way of avoiding this technique, but I had my clones waiting above in the air for them. Your needle clone was easily taken care of in the explosion. One thing you don't know about those needles is that they burn easily. That leaves you now, in the middle, with nothing else to do, except S. Ha, 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 ha. Kiran laughed. So you became strong after all, brother. That makes me proud. I can finally show you what it means, so be a Wushan clan member. I have reached the limit of our power. I have reached what our ancestors and our S-clan members have trained their whole lives to reach. Now it's time to show you, brother, what I really am. You'll be S before you can try anything. Akuma shouted as he held the end of the string in his left hand and bit his right thumb. He then formed one-handed hand seals, pounding his hand into the ground. Kuchio's no jutsu. A large black sword appeared in Akuma's right hand. The handle was about 2 feet long, and the sword was about 9 feet long altogether. This black sword was extremely sharp and quite unique. It had a large yellow eye on it at the bottom of the blade, and it had a black slit for a pupil. This sword is my secret weapon. I have only used it on demons, up until now. This sword was made from a demon, it was sealed inside here. You should feel honored, brother, because I'm taking this battle seriously. Whatever you have in store for me, will never be able to be witnessed by anyone again. You're tied down, and you have no weapon, you're about to S from L, so how are you going to defend yourself? Akuma asked. You don't seem to understand, Akuma, there is nothing you can do at this point that will save you. Kiran said. You are delusional. You are in no position to say that, and yet you still do. That simply proves you are insane, nothing more. Finally, our 2 paths have met, we fought, but only one of us can be victorious, and you are not that person. Akuma said, walking nearer to Kiran. Well then, I suppose if you don't think I'm going to win, then I should give it all that I've got. I can sense the chakra level of that sword, but it still won't be enough. Your demise will take less than 2 minutes. Are you ready, Akuma? Kiran asked. Ready, Kiran. Good, because here goes everything. Kiran said. Itachi and Hinata finally reached the battlegrounds of Kiran and Akuma. They both were panting because they both had traveled farther than expected. It seems that they went out quite far. Itachi said, looking around. Oh no, Hinata screamed as she rushed to Akuma's SB. His B was pinned to the tree trunk with his sword. The blade had his C and stuck him just so that his feet didn't touch the ground. His head lay facing down and B slowly dripped down his cloak and onto the floor. Just before Hinata could pull out the sword, Itachi stopped her, tackling her to the ground. Don't touch that, Hinata. That sword is actually the eight-tailed demon sealed into a blade. Akuma was known as the Demon Hunter, because he was the only one who had such a skill. He sealed the demon into that sword and he is the only one who can wield it. Just by grabbing the handle, you will release the demon from its state and we are not able to handle it alone. We must burn this tree along with Akuma and his sword. This forest reeks of bee, I can smell it everywhere. We must get back and help the others. Hopefully it is not too late for them. Itachi said. With his fire jutsu, he incinerated Akuma and his sword. The Akatsuki's leader was gone. Itachi, everything is going wrong. Hinata shouted as they began to head towards the remaining 5 Akatsuki members. Zetsu and Akuma are gone. Who else knows can be S over there? If Akuma's brother was able to K him, then I can't imagine how strong his leader is. He is beyond any of our levels. If they all fail, how can we possibly escape? I hope they are all right. Our plans have been drastically changed. That is true, but one thing does not differ, and that is that we stay together as a team. We will not abandon the remaining members we have. Are you ready to give your life in this next battle? Itachi asked. I am always ready, Hinata said as she gripped her sword tighter. Kuchio's no jutsu. My Neopaksu shouted. Boom. An enormous boar appeared, swallowing Q up completely. This will give us time to fix this. He groaned as he clutched his stomach. Chiyu no jutsu. His pain had gone away, and he began healing his fellow teammates as the boar stood waiting for a command. This is simply a temporary pain reliever for all of us. We need to get back to the base and figure out how to stop this technique. I don't think it is wise to fight. Suddenly, the large boar seemed to implode into a black hole. Q was standing there, without a single scratch on him, and he was smiling. Don't even joke, he said. It was at that moment when Kiran appeared without his cloak or his tight vest. He didn't seem to have much of a scratch anymore. He didn't have a single C, but he did have a few bruises on his B. He held 8's legs in one arm and his upper B in the other. He's B badly, my lord. I don't think he'll last much longer. It seems we have to get him back to Kagai before it's too late. Very well, Kiran, let us depart from here. It seems you had more trouble than I expected. Did you have to use your ability? Q asked. Yes, my lord, I actually did. It seems that my brother was not too far off from unlocking it as well. I don't think I could have one without it. One thing is for sure, he may be S, but I acknowledge him as a worthy opponent. He was stronger than me and smarter in battle as well. But in the end he stood no chance. I'm glad that our paths crossed and we were able to settle things once and for all. Now we must go, Kiran said. With that, the 3 Shouten members left the forest, traveling at a fast pace back to the base. The Akatsuki members did the same as soon as Itachi and Hinata had caught up with them. They took Naruto along so they could extract the Kyuubi while he was drugged. I never knew you could be so strong, Saru said as he fell to his knees of exhaustion. You are young like me, yet you are way beyond my level. How? As I said before, I have been in the Shouten for 4 years now. What good would I be to them if I wasn't skilled? You have not even begun to see half the extent of my power, Saru. The leader is so much stronger than me, that he could take me out in under 5 seconds. I'm telling you now, leave this place. It's all you can depend on. Once you devote your life to him, there's no going back. Haku said. I already have. Saru whispered softly. I need to see my brother again, no matter what. We need to do something then, we need some kind of leverage so that he will revive both of them. Haku said. We need Naruto. Naruto. Isn't that the teenager boy who is an S-class criminal? Saru asked. He is. Without Naruto, our leader's plans will be completely ruined. If we could somehow get a hold of Naruto, let's go back to the base for now, I'll think of something later. Haku said. When they arrived, 8, Kiran, Kagai, and Q were all waiting for them. This was the first time Saru had seen Kiran without a cloak. Q was still completely covered. But my lord, Naruto is in the hands of the Akatsuki. What will you do if they extract the Kyuubi? Kiran asked as Saru and Haku walked in. Where were you two? Kagai asked. We went out for a little training. Haku said as him and Saru both took a seat. Where is the Akatsuki base? Q asked. I know where it is. Haku spoke up. I found them outside it one morning and luckily I escaped unspotted. Very well, Q commended. Then I'll send you two back out to go get Naruto from them. We cannot risk them extracting his demon. I need it if I ever want to restore my power again. Bring Naruto back here, alive. Q dismissed Haku and Saru from his sight as they traveled quickly to the Akatsuki's base. Why does he need the Kyuubi so bad? Saru asked Haku. As I've said hundreds of times, all will be revealed in good time. Don't think that you can be trusted automatically by simply entering the Shouten. You have to earn our leader's trust just like I did. Haku answered. How can I do that? The more obedient you are to him, the faster he will trust you. He mostly bases his trust on strength, so with time, you will get stronger, and more secrets now will be eventually revealed to you. That is why our leader trusts Kiran the most, because Kiran surpasses all our strengths by far. Haku said. As for me, I am strong enough to know enough, and that's all that matters. Even if you tried escaping, he would kill you, but he doesn't want to risk you telling others. Haku explained. Wow, I always thought that 8 was stronger than everyone. Saru said. Not a chance. He is third strongest in our clan, but not even if we all teamed up together could we defeat Kiran. His blood limit allows him to access a form beyond a human level. He achieved this after years of training with our leader, and even then, he still cannot put a scratch on him. With time, you will get much stronger, and much faster as well. Do not worry about this whole trust issue, soon, you will know everything. Haku said as they finally arrived at the Akatsuki base. We must get Naruto and go, we cannot afford for them to follow us, so we must devise a plan. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.